This is Prime Sports NASCAR on Prime Sports Network. The 2020 season is finished. Chase Elliott is the champ. And guys, Chase Elliott was able to win even though he failed inspection not once, but twice. And why not fail inspection at Phoenix in the last race of the season when you know that 33 other drivers are just going to go, well, go right ahead. Go right by, Chase. Go ahead. Just pass us. Okay, go ahead. I mean, if I'm a driver in a championship race next year, that's what I'm going to do, right? If I'm a crew chief, I'm just going to keep trying to do whatever I can to make sure I can get the leg up on the next guy. And hey, if they catch us, they catch us, right? Who cares?
Hey, all you got to do is pass inspection once. They didn't say how many times it took you through to get to that one time. Because like you said, I was listening to a scanner early, and it's amazing how many cars got into the wall trying to get out of his way. It's like, oh, a car in front of you's in the wall. Car in front of you got in the wall. It's like, these guys are wrecking themselves to get out of the way. That's like, with a lack of a better word, that's like race suicide. Like, hey, oh, God, the championship guy's coming. Get out of the way. It's like, man, it just looked too easy. Great, he had a fast car, but it looked too easy.
And did you hear, I forget who it was that brought it up. He brought up
Junior. Talking about the 1, 2, 3, 4, the championship. Yeah, it was Junior.
And he was, well, it's either this or it's this. And they were talking about, you don't want to interfere. You want to race them hard, but you don't want to, interfere. Come on. I mean, guys, just be honest, will you? I mean, can't you know? Of course they can't. They can't be honest because NASCAR wouldn't allow it because they know it looks bad. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke, and they have to fix it. Nobody wants to see this. Look, it's good for us as when we put wagers on these races because, again, you knew after the first 10 minutes of that race that it was going to be the four of them, and Kevin Harvick wasn't even going to attempt to win the race. And the odds that we talked about, we were getting 5-1 and 6-1 on the 4 championship drivers, thanks to Kevin Harvick, and anybody believing that somebody other than those top 4 drivers was going to win the race.
I think they ended up talking about Kevin Harvick once, and that was just to say, where is he? I heard he called his crew chief and said his car was complete junk. So they're going to have to work on that. And then you never heard until like maybe 5 laps from the end and say, oh yeah, Kevin Harvick's right there too. He worked his way back into the top 10. Yeah, it was pretty unbelievable. But you called it last week when you said you wonder like how the rest of the field races the championship contenders. I don't think you need any further proof or to even ask the question any longer after Sunday. 1, 2, 3, 4, highly predictable. Yeah.
And that's it. That's and unfortunately, as we talked about last week, now we have to go back to this racetrack again, and it was just boring.
Yeah.
I mean, there was nothing. I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out. I don't know. I mean, the only way it would be if there was some sort of late caution or something like that. But even then, it's like, well, I'm not sure even what that does, except maybe the driver that's 3rd or 4th out of the top 4 gets to steal a win or something like that because he's able to somehow come out of the pits first after a late pit stop. But other than that, this racetrack just does not. I don't know what. I don't know. Was it better than Homestead?
I think it was better than Homestead, maybe for trucks and Xfinity because they had the late restart. That was the excitement for those races because then it came down to a strategy call. It came down to track position over tires. We did not have that in the Cup race. It was all long green flag runs all day. And, Eric pointed it out. What made those so exciting was, lack of out of bounds rule, but then number 2, a late race restart, which we just didn't get in the Cup Series finale. But Eric, you want to go on record with your idea on how to spice it up? I won't steal the thunder.
What's about the paying the
No, about implementing a final late restart.
Oh,
win the
yeah.
championship.
Make it, yeah. Go ahead and throw in the caution out and then in the last 10, 15 laps, just something to spice that up. Because you know what's going to happen even with the guys not in the championship, they're going to take 4 tires. They're just going to stay out of the way. So at least it gives the strategy call for those guys. It bunches them up because if they did, I think Keselowski probably wins the championship because he had a better short run car. He was catching Chase. He cut 2 seconds off. It's just his pit stops were junk all day. They kept losing spots. But 4 cautions. I mean, you take out the stage breaks and the competition caution, there's 1 caution all day. That doesn't bunch anything up. That race probably would have been done in 2 hours at that point. And so, I don't know, short of having the season finale at Talladega or Daytona, whether anything's going to change anymore from the top 4, just unless you give incentives or a late caution to change this up, because that's what you get. I mean, I looked last year, the 4 guys were 1, 2, 4, 10, 2018, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2017, 1, 2, 4, 7, 2016, 1, 4, 6, 34. But only because of that is Edwards wrecked while they were 1, 2, 3, 4 on the final restart. 2015, 1, 2, 6, 12, and 2014, 1, 2, 7, 16. So as Elliott said on this media call this week that they used to tiptoe around them and they maybe race a little bit harder now. The stats prove otherwise. They're just getting out of the way. So,
well, it sounds to me though, with that information you just gave me, that maybe Homestead is better because this was 1, 2, 3, 4. And
after 48 laps, it was 1, 2,
and it was 1, 2, 3, 4 the whole race.
Yeah, from 48 on. That's all. I mean, I looked too. Jimmy Johnson was 12 seconds behind Chase Elliott at the finish. He was 4 seconds behind 4th place. So it's like you got Chase and another zip code, Brad right behind him, Logano and Hamlin struggling, but then they were still 4 seconds clear of the next best car, which, come on, did Jimmy Johnson really have a top 5 car all of a sudden? Or was this just like that perfect storyline? Oh, it's championship 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, Jimmy Johnson 5th. And oh, by the way, did you know Ryan Blaney was in the race and finished 5th both stages and 6th? The dude didn't even get mentioned. It just starts to get to the fact it's like, what's the point of having these other guys out here? A lot of NASCAR has been made for TV events, but that wasn't a made for TV event. That was more made for fans there, because if you weren't at the race, you would never know, other than restarts, that there were 36 other guys on the racetrack. It just, I looked at like, oh, did you know Martin Truex Jr. was in the race? Did they mention that guy's name once? I had to look it up. Like, hey, he finished 10th. He was 18th and like 15th in the 2 stages. Did they even show his car on TV once? Eric Jones, I don't remember seeing them out there, which isn't good for their sponsors. It's not good. I just can't fathom why, even if I'm in that position and the championship's over, why are you even running the race? Your car is a rolling billboard for a reason, and it wasn't shown once on their biggest race other than the Daytona 500. You're crowning a champion, and all they talked about was the championship 4, which I get it, and Jimmy Johnson, and that was it. So it was definitely something I think needs tweaked. I don't know how, other than,
well, why don't we? How about we talked about this by adding other contenders? How about we add more contenders and still we hold on to the points in the final race as well? So sort of like golf. Golf has it where, okay, you have 30 golfers in it, but the golfers that are like 15 to 30, they could still win it, but they're already starting the day at a certain amount of points behind. So they really have to play well in order to win a championship. And you know what? Because they were 30th, that's all that's what should happen. You should have to play with your mind out of fire, just no way that, the game of your life kind of deal. Why not do that with NASCAR now? Why don't you say, okay, we'll add more cars and we'll give, the 10th car or the 12th car or however many make it to the playoffs an opportunity. But hey, maybe they have to win both stages and win the race and hope that a few other scenarios happen. Then we'll have more of a free for all where, hey, I don't care about that. I don't care if he crashes, because, hey, if he crashes, I might have a chance to win.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I've always wondered if you have the stage breaks when it doesn't matter.
Yeah, they're useless.
You have to finish ahead, period, at the end of the race. So why even bother? What if they don't mean anything? Then just throw them away. Keep the points. Maybe expand it up to the final 8 or whatever. And you're exactly right. Yeah, so and so's got to go out there. They can win the championship still, but guess what? They got to win both stages and the race to do it. And if they dominate it, then granted, you have a worthy champion, right? It's not as much of a crapshoot as coming down to one race, one racetrack. I do think still the other idea about rotating the tracks is also equally compelling.
That's a no-brainer.
You could leave the format the exact same way it is and then figure out a new way to rotate that around the schedule. I mean, you probably aren't going to pick Talladega or Daytona, but maybe you do. I don't know. But I think that makes it as exciting as probably expanding it to however many and then leaving the points in. But if the stages aren't going to mean anything anymore, then toss them out. Who cares?
I think that's confusing too. I had a friend that covers IndyCar that was going to try to cover some NASCAR next year just because it's with the pandemic. Wasn't sure how many IndyCar races they can cover, and like I'm going to treat like this race like I'm covering it. What should I watch? What should I do? And I was trying to explain to him like, oh yeah, just don't worry about points today. He's like, what do you mean? Like, stages don't mean anything. Because he knows about NASCAR, but not a lot. He's like, what? You mean they race 35 races one way, and the last race, like, it's completely different? I go, oh, yeah. He goes, so if a guy finishes 4th both stages, but wins the race, he's the champion? Like, yep. Doesn't matter what you do in the first. He goes, that's really confusing. And I go, that's been my point for this whole time. It's you're gonna see the same 4 guys up in the championship up front, and the other factor is, let's be honest, Keselowski, Logano, and Elliott were the 3 best on this horsepower package. They were the 3 best guys, and other than Elliott, you gave them the best track position. Like you let them start up front. They never were passed up front. It's just like you just gave the best cars the best. Maybe invert the field. If you're gonna stop for stage breaks, can we put the 4 guys at the back? Can we invert it? At least we know they're going to eventually get to the front, but can we at least make it fun watching them get there? At least force them to pass. I mean, Chase Elliott literally passed every car in 48 laps. He didn't gain any spots on pit road on the competition caution. In fact, I think he lost the spot. And it's like, how on a 1 mile track, not a mile and a half, not a 2 mile, did a guy start last, then literally pass every car in 48 laps? Like, that just seems far-fetched. And the other guys just, I mean, I have to go back and look. I'm not sure, other than Keselowski, was Logano and Hamlin ever passed by a non-playoff guy? No. I think they were up.
Logano definitely not.
Yeah.
Hamlin was. Logano absolutely not. He led 125 laps. He led every single
right
up until then. So any spots he lost in the pits. Or maybe I'd say, well, he was passed by Keselowski, which I think would be the exception to your question.
Yeah, I don't think he was passed by a non-championship 4 guy. And right. Elliott moved his way up, and I don't remember if he was ever passed, because I've got to think. I know he never got passed before the competition caution. They pitted, and then he moved his way back up. I don't remember him falling, and he never fell out of the top 4 once he got there. So you can make a case neither of those 2 did. Keselowski was, just because of a restart, and I think there might have been an outlier when Keselowski fell back that might have got Hamlin, but maybe once all day. It's like that doesn't help when those same guys they're not even passed by anybody else. That's just baffling.
The other thing about Phoenix, right off the bat, Logano was out there, and he had, I think it was Hamlin at the time, was trying to catch him, and was it one of the announcers? I think it was Tim Allen or Greg Allen, forgetting
Rick Allen, yeah.
Rick Allen, thank you. Tim Allen, the
Toolman Taylor.
But anyway, Logano gets out front. Hamlin's trying to chase him down. He asks, what is Logano doing? Is he doing like what he did in Kansas to try to block Hamlin's air? And Burton's like, no, this racetrack, you just go wherever you need to go. You can go up and down the racetrack. You just got to put your car where it goes. To the point of switching around the racetracks. I mean, throw that exact same point at Kansas, for example. Does Elliott make his way through the field that easily? Do people get out of his way that easily? Does the air disrupt him a little bit more than it would otherwise? I mean, all the more case to switch up the venue, but you're exactly right. I can't think, and that's a good point because I hadn't thought about it until you asked. There was not a single point that I recall other than Keselowski and maybe one off from Hamlin that any of the four ever got passed by anybody on the racetrack.
And all this other race cars are that much better than it. And that's what I saw a lot of people, like Bernard Pollard, the NFL guys, like, are they that much better all of a sudden? Or it just... And I saw some of the PR speak like, oh, well, they got the best equipment in the cars now. It's like, but they didn't know last week, other than Logano, they were even going to be there. You can't tell me Chase Elliott's team and Hendrick spent $5 million on a Phoenix car that they didn't even know they would need. It doesn't make sense. It's just, I don't know.
Somebody has to speak out that has a voice. Somebody that is, but that's the problem. I mean, is anyone going to speak out? I don't even know if Tony Stewart, but I don't even know if they would care what a Tony Stewart would say anymore. It's got to probably be a Jeff Gordon, a Dale Jr., someone that's still calling races. They're not going to listen to us.
Have to be somebody on. No, it'll have to be somebody on like NBC, and it's going to have to be a junior, somebody of that stature that's in the know, that knows guys at Hendricks, that know that, oh yeah, they got extra.
Well, doesn't he have his own show now, Junior?
Dale Junior download.
Okay, well, when you do a show, aren't you supposed to be controversial in some respect? Isn't that what that's about? So, does he ever say anything controversial?
No,
not really. No.
If he says anything controversial that was a legend from 25, 30 plus years ago, it's nothing more than that. And there's very little criticism of what's going on today. And I think even, Tony Stewart would probably be the exception to the rule, but you got to remember he's still a team owner too. So the team owners, they're, I don't know, maybe team owners, but are they going to listen to the team owners? Probably not. But it's probably got to be somebody who has influence that just doesn't care. That's going to say, you know what? Yeah, this is my livelihood. This is my job at the moment, but I'm going to be honest.
Michael Jordan.
Here's what I said. Yeah.
He
might be excellent. Yep.
Well, we'll see. It's got to happen. And now we got to go through we got to go through one more season with the same car.
Yep.
Yes.
So we're gonna go through this again with a lot of these tracks. The only good thing is we have road courses that are eliminating two race destination. Well, we got Dover, Michigan, Texas, and the regular Bristol track, and the Brickyard. They're being taken. Well, Brickyard, no racing at all.
Moving to a road course. Yeah.
Kentucky, Chicago is done.
Yep.
Right? Dover, Michigan, Texas, Bristol gets one race taken away.
Yeah, Bristol just becomes a dirt race.
Yeah, the dirt track, which again, that's okay. But as we said, does it have to be Bristol that you take away? Couldn't you have three races at Bristol?
NASCAR, they asked for it.
Yeah, the fan
they asked for it. Yeah,
told to be a dirt race. Yeah.
So we're okay with Kentucky. We're definitely okay with the Brickyard. Chicago, are we okay with that?
Yeah,
I thought they were one of the better 1.5 mile tracks just because of the gauge surface. Like it seemed like you got more passing. It was hotter usually when they ran it. It seemed like you can get guys moving up and down the field, but the crowds. I mean, running that race in the middle of July and 100. I mean, I went through my phone and looked. The last time, not this past year, obviously, because they didn't run there. The year before that they ran, the heat index was 111 degrees at race time. Okay. Like, there's literally barely anybody sitting
Imagine
in the
putting a mask on with that.
Oh, well, I don't know if I wasn't in the press box. I'm not even going. What's the point? But yeah, that was. I felt like they could have maybe saved that one, but I get the narrative, what they're trying to do here. Which I agree with taking cookie cutters away and putting it to tracks to make it more excitement. So I like what they're doing. I feel like I like the dirt track idea, but there's actual dirt tracks that are made for dirt tracks that you could have gone to, then switch a concrete oval to a dirt track.
Because we have no idea how that's going to play out. Again, another situation where we're going to go to a brand new, surface and hey, let's try it out. Why not? Let's just see how it goes. I mean, that makes no sense.
No, on a track that's not built for dirt. And the only evidence they have were sprint car, like the World of Outlaws, which are dirt cars racing on dirt. These Cup cars aren't made for dirt. They're not made for that. They're literally were not made. Wind tunnel, all the things they make for these are not for dirt, and you're just going to throw that. And that's what like Keselowski was saying. The cars aren't made for it. The tires aren't made for it, and you're just going to throw it on dirt. That just to me sounds on a track that's not made for dirt. That just sounds like too many factors against it. But I guess that's what the fans wanted. So
that's what Bristol wanted.
We'll see if it lasts longer than a year. Yeah.
So all right. So then we have one more, and then we really have no idea, of course, how the 2022 car is going to work out. So
that is going to be, and Steve Phelps said Saturday in their state of the end of the season, state of the sport, that he feels practice and qualifying will be back to a bigger magnitude. He didn't elaborate.
Bigger magnitude,
but you're going to see a lot more. You're going to see a lot more practice and qualifying for 2022 because
the new car. Okay,
new car. Yeah. Next year it's going to be the same as this pandemic. You're only going to have the new tracks get practice and qualifying, which this is where it's going to be who wants to spend the money. I think is where you're going to see which manufacturer is going to come out on top next year. It's you got a new car. You're spending, which they said is going to be more money initially up front to get everything switched over. You got to pay into it, and it should save money over the long haul. But you got to spend money on the new car. You know that. You got to spend development, wind tunnel, learning all you can for 2022. Do you improve your car for this year to next, or do you just punt next season away knowing why spend millions knowing that this car is obsolete this time next year? You can't use this car for 2022. It's gone. You got a new body style, everything. Do you spend the money to be competitive next year, or do you risk it saying, I don't know if either my manufacturers, maybe we'll stay as status quo and hope Chevy and Toyota and the other ones or Ford or vice versa, they all, hey, let's just not spend any off-season development and let's go in with what we got. Like Ford won 18 times this past year. They could only go down. Toyota and Chevy each won 9 times. Are they okay with winning 9 times, or do they want, hey, I don't want to be bad all year. I want to be good. Does somebody spend the money to make the other ones look foolish? And that's the $1 million question you go to in the offseason. Who tries to improve?
Also, you guys okay with Kevin Harvick and Chase Briscoe winning 9 times in their selective series and not winning the championship?
Sadly, yes. I mean, that's what everybody signed up for. You've had series where the guy who won the most races didn't get the championship because it came down to points. I kind of take that with a grain of salt, but I put more stock in the fact that everybody signed up for this. This is the way that it is. And that's why we talked about it last week too. That's why Final Four appearances or Championship 4 appearances are arguably more important than actual titles now, because those are kind of a roll of the dice. Whereas just, you had a good season if you make it into the Championship 4, as Denny Hamlin said. So,
but we definitely want more points for winning races, don't we?
Yeah, I think there should be some separation other than 1 or 2. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think I agree with you, CJ. Because let's look at Kevin Harvick. I have to feel like that car was already made. I mean, they didn't go into Martinsville thinking they weren't going to be at Phoenix. They didn't just junk a car together for it. So if Kevin Harvick, this kind of goes to Hamlin's point, if he starts the race like he did yesterday with that car, Kevin Harvick's not winning the championship anyways. Chase Elliott, I feel like if you run that race again and take Hamlin out and throw Harvick in, I think Chase Elliott still wins. He was that much better. So does Harvick's season look any different that he won 9 times and lost in the championship 4, or does it look the same as he's lost 9 times and didn't make the championship 4? I think that's where Hamlin's coming from, where championship 4 should mean something. That, look, that guy won 9 times and didn't even make it, but what's the difference would he take a 3-win season and make the championship 4, not win the championship, or take a 9-win season and not even make the championship 4 at all? So I think that's a debate you're probably going to see moving forward even louder now, because if you look now that Jimmy's gone, Kyle Busch is the only guy, as weird as this sounds, in the entire Cup field that's the multi-time Cup champion.
That's good.
Everybody else has either won once or nothing at all.
Yeah.
So you're seeing parity. I think you got to start looking at that. Championship fours and maybe regular season overall wins maybe hold a little more weight than championships, which is as weird as that sounds. But we're down to a championship where one race, as we talked about earlier, no stage points, a fluke thing can take you out. You could have 20 wins in the regular season and have a loose wheel or something, speeding penalty in the final race to not win the championship. So, I feel like that's something looking forward that we're going to start looking at is parity. Does Kyle win another one? Does Denny ever win one? I mean, how many new guys? It's you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys now coming into the next season with the championship, and I'll have to look. When's the last time we've had the most championships in a season for any driver be 2? I mean, you've had Johnson for all those years. You had Gordon's run. He had 4 all the way up until 01, but you've had Earnhardt going in that era. It's Petty,
if ever. Yeah.
Yeah. This may be the least amount of championships you've got. I mean, combined, you've only got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You got 8 combined championships in the field. Is this the least amount combined for across the board for any season? I'd have to look it up, but this might be the least amount since like way early NASCAR days when it was founded.
And give it a few more years, and then it really opens up. Because if you look at Joe Gibbs, he has, for a sport that's getting so young, he has 3 drivers 35 and over out of 4. 2 of them are 40-year-olds. So I hope he's got a good long-term plan, because he's getting to the point where some of these guys might start thinking of retirement soon.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, even Joey Logano, he's 30 years old. The guy's been around for what feels like forever. He's only 30 years old. So, there's a long tenure yet to come. And I was critical of Hendrick over the past couple of years for going with guys like Byron and Bowman. But honestly, when you look ahead to 2021 and you look at how well they navigate through the playoffs, and the fact that Chase actually got there. I mean, look, we all talked about how great Alex Bowman was in the playoffs. Elliott made the Final Four, comes out and wins it. That might be the path forward. Getting these young guys that are honed on video games and can do that kind of one-off real quick, winner take all kind of thing. And I think Hendrick, barring any kind of massive investment between him and Penske, I think those are the 2 teams you got to be looking at for 2022 for sure.
The NASCAR
before the new car comes out.
NASCAR wanted to be more like the big leagues, and now they are. Now they've got a championship set up where all you have to do is get hot late in their season. You don't have to you could just hang around for most of the season, get into the playoffs, and then just get hot for a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, just like Chase Elliott did, and you could steal a championship.
Exactly.
That's what they are. This is the NASCAR era we're in. It's like the stick and ball sports. And that's what I was trying to explain to my friend in the IndyCar. Is like you don't have to be dominant in the regular season anymore. I mean, how many Super Bowl champions do you see the number 1 overall team actually win the Super Bowl? I mean, how many times have you seen, even the NBA lately, this load management? How many times have you seen LeBron's teams be a 3 or 4 seed in the playoffs and just get hot and win? I mean, that's what it's about now. I mean, you look at, that's why I think Penske moving forward, the crew chief swap, what were they doing? Why would you do that? And then start of the pandemic, then it looked like they're like, oh, well, that hurt them because the communication barrier. They don't know each other yet because they haven't seen these tracks together and they don't have any practice or qualifying. And, well, look, they figured it out. Now they got a whole season of notes. Like CJ said, they've got a younger team now, and they're seeing these tracks again for a second time. That how much of that do you see? I mean, you got Hendrick. They added Larson too. I mean, their oldest driver's 28, and they go back to Gibbs. That's what we talked about a couple of years ago when they brought in Truex, and it's like you're not right now going to next season. You look like a fool to cut ties with Denny Hamlin, 2 straight championship fours, and Kyle Busch, 2 championships. I just said the only guy that's won multiple titles. Truex, other than this past year, he's been great all the way before this, but then. That's why I feel like next year's a make or break season for him. Truex has 1 win in his last 43 starts. Busch is 2 in his last 58. Hamlin, is he ever going to win a championship, or is this who he is? 13 wins in 2 years, but he doesn't have a title. And Toyota's got all these younger drivers stockpiled, but nowhere to move. And you're seeing the other teams are benefiting. They're signing them away. Byron was a Toyota driver. Larson was a Toyota driver. How many drivers, Noah Gragson, how many drivers that came through the Toyota ranks but nowhere to go that they lost out on? And now they may look up. I mean, other than Harrison Burton, I can't name a lot of Toyota drivers left in the stockpile that's ready to compete in a cup level here soon. So they may have been that team that I know everybody gave, like the Bulls in the 98. All those guys were free agents at the end of the year and aging. Do you sign them and bank the future of your franchise for a couple short-term championships and have nothing in the future, or do you look younger? And I think that's what CJ, like he was saying, these other teams went younger, punted away a few seasons, and now Hendrick could be back. I mean, this could be their four-car lineup for 10 years, a decade.
Yeah, they're set. Absolutely. That's a good,
kind of the same
way. With Chase Elliott, all of a sudden, he's the man now. Look how young he is.
And Bowman's 24. Only 27. Yeah, he's 24. Bowman's 27. Byron's he ended the season hot. He's only 22. Larson's only 28.
Hey, this helps out our futures because now we can be sitting there when, look, there's going to be another Harvick Hamlin kind of, it could be two different drivers in the middle of the season that are blitzing the field and they're heavy favorites. Oh, okay. We know what happened last year. Okay. I'll take that 8-1. I'll take that 10-1. I'll take that 12-1. That's a good thing. So again, that's what we want. No question. And look, that's the thing we're doing here is we are not complaining. We're just explaining how the sport is changing, and it's changing for the better. But there are still a lot of things that NASCAR needs to do, obviously, that we've talked about, hundreds of things that they could do to make the sport better, but they are heading into the right direction as far as the way that they have now made their sport more like the big leagues. So that this is all good stuff.
Yeah, this isn't your grandpa's NASCAR anymore. This is a completely new and really, I would say if I'm these teams right now, as weird as this sounds, I only focus on my 750 horsepower stuff. That's it. Nothing else matters. The mile and a halves don't matter. The super speedways don't matter because you got all these road courses on the 750 horsepower. And look how the end of the season shaped up. Martinsville and Phoenix are the final two races. The best drivers on them made the championship four. You only got to be good on those tracks. They doing
Martinsville again like that next year?
Same playoff tracks. Yep, same exact order.
same order. Oh my God.
So if I'm Kevin Harvick, then I know hey, I had the best season. I have one weakness: Martinsville. I am working on Martinsville for between now and next year.
What's in that last three with Martinsville?
Texas.
Okay,
Kansas.
so
Kansas,
that's what
Texas.
You have to do then. Yep. Is you have to put all of your eggs into Kansas and Texas and say, okay, those are I got to win one of those two races next year. And if I could do that, I got a chance for the Final Four. I will be in the Final Four. Because if I go to Martinsville again, I'm screwed.
Yeah. Yep. That's his path. That is his path. And if so, I mean, that's these other guys. You got to look at somebody like Kyle Busch on the opposite. He ended great. He only had 3 playoff points total. He had 1 all year. And then the bonus points for finishing the top 10 the regular season got 2 more. He missed out on advancing because of playoff points or lack thereof. It wasn't like he drove bad. He had a lot of top 10s in the playoffs. I thought he finally was starting to turn the corner. He won at Texas. He would have been in the championship for us. So I think some guys, you got to have a good bank of playoff points, or somebody like Harvick, that guy wins at least 4 races every year, it seems. Be good at Martinsville. Keep your speed elsewhere. Be good at Martinsville, and he's in. The championship could be his. Yep. But Phoenix is definitely – I think we're going to look at Phoenix next year, early in the season, as that is going to be a good barometer because there's no practice. If I'm all those guys, I might – do you punt that race away just trying to get 312 laps of notes to come back for in the November, hoping you're going to be in the championship for? So – again, that's something we wouldn't have said 20 years ago. Hey, I'm going to punt away an early race. Screw points. I'm just focusing on playoffs, and that's where it is now in NASCAR. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. I think it changes because Harvick, I saw going into this past weekend's race, was 111 points up on second. So the championship in the old days would have been called 3 races ago. And we're not even talking about championship right now. So
it also helps because we don't want really good, dominant 9-10 win drivers. That doesn't help us. We don't want to see 2-1, 3-1 cars winning every week, always in control. That does so for them also to get away from that. That's another good thing. So yeah, don't concentrate on winning 9 or 10 because that doesn't help you out and it doesn't help us out when we're trying to handicap these races and make a little cha-chang on the side.
Nah, I think the parity now is going to be as high as maybe it's ever been. I mean, like, a few years ago, you had the big 3, Harvick, Truex, Busch. But you got Harvick and Hamlin, 13 wins the last 2 years. Penske improved. There's 3 cars there. Kyle and Truex, there's no way they stay at 1 win next year. You know they're going to improve. There's 5 guys. Elliott's got 12 wins in 3 years and now a champion. There's 6. And I haven't even mentioned the Hendrick guys. So I think this now we might finally have some parity, which again helps us. Yes. The betting odds. You can't. Who are you going to give 2-1 odds for those guys to? I mean, I think you can go Daytona next year and nobody's better than 10, 11-1 for the 500 just because it's. And you're going to go to the next race at, as of now, Fontana. We'll see what happens with California's stuff. But how do you give any of those guys anything lower than 5 or 6-1? Because you don't know. I mean, it's the same car, so we might luck out with some early season odds. And
who should be the favorite for next year as of right now?
I'm probably going Logano, just only because of how he ended the season and how him and Paul Wolf just seem to start clicking again. I mean, out of the start of the year,
Paul Wolf right now is the best crew chief in the business, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
I firmly believe that, and I have for a number of seasons. For me, it's between Keselowski or Logano. I think that crew chief switch early on is going to really pay dividends as they get to know each other. They had a ton of momentum for both of them coming out of the end of the season. I mean, Keselowski, I wrote a little bit about it. He was. How many races early in the season did he say he didn't have the horsepower and didn't have the car to win, but he ended up pulling them out? So he's always been there throughout the season, and they improved and they were actually coming out and dominating races by the end of the season. So definitely got to put the chip in the Penske basket. I'm not sure which one, probably give the edge.
And this is another year for Ryan Blaney to step up and mature.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, when you got Ryan Blaney, he finished, he drove an exceptional race in Phoenix. Too bad nobody heard about it because he was never on camera.
He was the best.
Maybe he could have won the race if he really was in the Final Four.
Yeah.
I wondered if he really tried. Could he have won the race? He looked good.
We know they don't try. We've just been through that. They don't.
Well, I want to see video, and I want to go back and watch because I know there was like a visor cam on Johnson for the whole race. All of a sudden, with 16 to go, the TV didn't mention it. I saw my timing and scoring. Blaney got passed by Jimmy Johnson. Blaney's a big fan of Jimmy Johnson. Is that one of those? I don't gain anything by finishing 5th or 6th, and this is a better story. I'm just curious. How legit was Jimmy Johnson getting into
0
yesterday? Or did Blaney finish 5th in both stages?
On. It was 0. Nobody was touching the top 4 and Jimmy.
No. That's what it seemed like. So it's like CJ, he had 6 top 7s in his final 7 finishes of the season. I mean, look how he started the year. He should have finished 1st or 2nd for 3
He had a lot of bad
weeks,
luck. And if he has good luck this year, we're not going to be surprised in the least if Ryan Blaney is this year's Chase Elliott.
Could be. They very well could be. And Chase, the odds are on his side to repeat anyways.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's going to dip too much. I mean, we've only had a repeat champion twice since 1995. And that was Jimmy Johnson and his 5-year reign and Jeff Gordon.
Blaney will probably be pretty good. I would say Blaney will probably be like a 10-1 shot.
My guess is 12-1. His number was what you might get him at. Because I think you're going to see the championship 4 guys are naturally going to be, 3, 4, 5-1. You got to have Harvick up there with him, which is going to help.
Harvick last year, wasn't he the favorite at 5-1?
I believe so. I had it on my Chase was 12-1 at the start of the year.
So you'll probably get good odds. I tell you, they're probably going to have Harvick. I bet you Harvick and Kyle Busch are going to be the top two.
Yeah, Kyle probably.
And
they will be.
Yeah.
There's no question.
What's
about
that?
If Kyle's
Yeah.
will be.
yeah,
There's no
Kyle's going to
question.
be 5-1, but I feel like he should be like 10-1, and I would hammer that all day. But he will probably be 5-1, and right there, you might get a good steal on Truex. I think they might look at this year with 1 win, and then it
I
would show
think
a
you're
whole
going to
lot
get
in
good
the
odds on
playoffs.
Logano. I think he'll
Yeah.
probably be
He
8-1,
probably will.
7-1.
Yeah.
I agree. Same with Keselowski. It seems like the Penske guys they'll never put too high, but I agree. I think you can get all three, and you might be worth. How do you put Larson better than 12-1? He was 14-1 starting off this year, and he's hasn't raced.
New team,
Yep.
all that.
So yeah,
Put him with Hendrick. I'd be curious for Elliott. That's my main thing. I want to see where they put Elliott next year. He's a defending champion? How much play do they say that matters? Is he, if you go off that, is he the favorite?
no,
Probably not. They're probably going to put Harvick. Is he second? No, I agree. They're probably going to put Kyle Busch. Is he third, or do they
possible
put that to Hamlin?
because he is a fan favorite, and fan favorites do get overbet. So he could be the third choice.
I would say it's probably going to be Harvick. I'd go Kyle. Probably Hamlin.
Hamlin never gets any respect.
Hamlin.
So
he doesn't. But I'm thinking after 2 straight championship fours, they may go off of wins too. Just 13 wins combined between those two. I'm going to guess Elliott's probably 7-1. Hamlin maybe 6-1. Truex 8-1. And then you're probably going to have your Penske guys 9-1, 10-1. Blaney 12-1, and then everybody else back would be my guess.
And as far as the way we did our futures and our fantasy league this year, did you happen to notice anything as far as any changes? Anything that we should make to improve it?
I thought it worked good. I'd say the trade I noticed you won all of them.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know if we can add some.
How does that happen,
money
man?
or
You're the
votes
two
we can
experts.
after I know.
That just shows you
Well,
I've been handicapping for a lot longer than you guys. So that's really where that comes from. But you guys will probably catch up to me, no question, real soon.
I just have to get off of my strategy of, kind of loading up on those that having a basket of those that I think are going to get there, and then waiting until the last race to decide which one. I got to be more consistent throughout. I think that's the improvement I can make.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, you definitely, because that's why in the beginning of the season, it's important to make sure that you do have, okay, well, let me take as many of those 7 to 12 to 14 to 1 shots. Yep. And I think we're going to get good odds this year. The parity is so good. That's why we said it. It's going to help people like us. We're going to have a lot more to choose from instead of Truex and Kyle and Harvick at 3-1 all year, and they get to the Final Four. It's not going to be like that anymore. And I was able actually to finish in the plus category in picks, and that's hard to do now. We talked about that, and it's going to be even better for us moving forward. So I think we're actually sooner or later, NASCAR has become a sport where we can gamble on and actually make money.
Yes,
which is
important. They need to do a better job. Yeah, they need to do a better job this offseason and getting relevant in that. I mean, that's what got football really, gambling and fantasy football, and they had the parity already down. NFL's really after the parity, and then gearing that towards the gambling and fantasy world. And I feel like that's where NASCAR's next kick, because you got a lot of younger 20-somethings that like to play the fantasy and gambling game, especially now that it's becoming legal in a lot of states, and that's your way to.
NASCAR announced an official betting partner for 2021 and beyond, so they're definitely. You can tell they're definitely
Who's that?
headed that direction. And I forget who. Do you remember?
Is it like one of those
I can't
from
remember.
Europe?
No, it's a United. It's not a big name. It's not a big name like you thought they'd get, but I can't remember what their name is. But yeah, I was kind of hoping they'd get like a bigger name to kind of help them get over the hump. So maybe this person, this new group,
MGM.
Who?
There you go.
BetMGM.
So they obviously have their ties to Vegas. That's what that's about.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. But I mean, they got on the bandwagon with fantasy a couple of years ago. I mean, that's how I started getting really involved in being able to get the media credentials and go up and talk to these guys and more involved in the sport. So they've been playing that angle for a while. And as Eric said, it's becoming more legal from both the fantasy perspective as well as the sports book perspective. So you're right. If you get the parity down, which it seems like we're starting to get, certainly the playoff format has helped that. And hopefully the rules packages continue to reinforce that. But yeah, if you can make inroads in those two categories, you're gonna start approaching the other sports.
Okay,
for
important dates now. Nothing really, right? Until what? When do we start paying attention to the sport again?
February be the.
February.
When is the first race?
Yeah, there's no Daytona
the
500.
Clash.
The Clash, yeah.
What date is that?
Clash is on the Daytona road course Tuesday, February 9th. That's a wonderful time.
So
the Tuesday night road course, Daytona.
oh, that's okay. Yeah. So we don't,
and we don't know who's in it. I guess that would be the next phase is who's eligible, because it used to just be pole winners, but we didn't do that this year with 32 races one race was qualified, the 600. 31 others during the pandemic were just drawn or formulas. So who's in that race? Nobody knows. That would be the next, I guess.
So February 1st. That's when we start getting involved. When do you guys start putting out your previews on your for your websites? When do you start doing that?
Probably February 7th.
Okay.
Probably.
Mine's usually late January. It just depends. They used to do media days, which I have a feeling it's probably all, now that we've gone through this year, it's all going to be Zoom. There's no way they're going to invite you, even if the pandemic's gone and there's a vaccine and everything's open. I don't see them saying, hey, come to the race shops and do a media day. And they used to take you by bus. You'd go to the Hendrick shop, and then you talk to the team, and then you'll hop on the bus, and they'll take you to the next stop.
Yeah, those days are over.
They're done. It's all Zoom now. You know it's going to be just like it was this year. I think that's here to stay. So it'll depend on when.
Well, this is your opportunity now, though, in the off season to do one-on-ones, isn't it?
Not usually.
They're usually not available.
Yeah, gone.
Yeah. They usually check out, go on vacation. I mean, Kurt Busch looked like he was already in some tropical weather.
I don't know where he was at. He was long gone. He was checked out. Yeah, he was having dinner outside with palm trees and stuff. Like that race was ended, and you were on that plane and out of there. Like they usually, a lot of people don't realize this. And Keselowski noted this yesterday on Twitter last night, that a lot of people get laid off this week in this racing world, because there's most of the cars. Most everything's ready. They've been working on the 2021 stuff already. You only need a few handful of people in the shop.
That's only a couple of months, though, right?
Yeah. A lot of it's unpaid. A lot of them are just contract employees for the 9 months. And
when is the pre-season really begin? Off the track.
I think January they've got test. Are they going to test in January, or are they canceling that with COVID?
I think they're probably canceling that too. They don't usually test the whole. If they're testing anything moving forward, it'll be the 2022 car. I don't think there's going to be much test for the 2021. I think they're trying to call safe, saying, hey, we don't need to spend any time in here. A lot of the wind tunnel development was outlawed this year because of COVID. So I can see that just, hey, let's try to keep it simple. Wind tunnel time testing for this 2021 car. Don't bother. We're going to focus on 2022, but that car is not even done yet. They still have some more tests for it. So I think if anything, you're just going to have some quiet tests with that car out there. Nothing real major, just fine tuning, figuring out what that car likes. So I'd really say probably mid to late January is when things will start picking up, because you're going to have Rick Hendrick let the cat out of the bag. Of him of all people, that Chase Elliott and Jimmy Johnson are going to run the 24-hour Daytona. So you're going to probably have some NASCAR drivers. I don't know why they wouldn't, with the Clash being in Daytona on the road course and the emphasis of more road racing. I think you're going to see more NASCAR drivers run the Rolex 24 hours, which is at the end of January. So that kind of might be we start seeing NASCAR start coming back.
All right, guys. Well, great job as always. So racereviewonline.net, Eric, you're going to be doing what for the next few months?
Just this stuff comes out. just news of if anything changing. Other than that, it might be a little bit quieter. Has some kind of top 5 things to look forward to for next year and stuff like that. And then we'll have some previews late January, just whenever the media days start happening. You can talk to the drivers and teams and that kind of stuff.
Well, you also have to recharge your batteries for creative ideas, and that's what we're all going to be doing, because we have we have a good show, and there's a lot of things we're working on behind the scenes to promote the show and to get on board with with new partners. It's a never-ending deal, but we're getting closer. The video deal took us a while to get going this year, but once we figured it out, it's been great, and we're just going to continue to up that. So I have a lot of confidence that since we have a good show, once we start promoting it to the proper audience and bring in the proper partners, that we're gonna catch on pretty quickly. So we have, a matter of fact, I'm telling you right now, guaranteed next year at some point we are going to schedule to do a live show. We're going to watch the race. We're going to comment on the race as it goes. So, and then I would, what we could do too is even if we'll make sure we pick the shortest race, but after we do that, and then I can cut the race up as well. And we can have it live, and then anybody that wants to just listen to the best of for like a half hour, we'll do that as well. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. So those are the sort of ideas that we're going to be able to work on and use these next few months to build, really kick-ass property next year. And I think between the three of us, I think we can do that. And for you, CJ, RotoWire, are you going to be quiet now for a few months or what?
Yep, I'll be quiet for a couple of months. We are working on a couple of things behind the scenes to get ready for 2021. You've got a lot of new tracks that are out there. So last year with the old package, so the car is not a factor, but you do have the new tracks and the new schedule. So we'll probably be working on a couple of track previews, getting some more in-depth analysis on the circuits during this off season. But yeah, otherwise it'll be.
And what I want to do too is next season, as long as it doesn't interfere with NASCAR, but I really would like for us to incorporate on all, within the programming, everything else that goes on in motorsports. Because there's a lot of popularity overseas with a lot of other series that I don't ever involve myself with, and I know you guys know a lot more than I do, and these are things that we need to capitalize on as well. So we'll do that. We'll have to do that.
Yep.
All right, guys.
Sounds good.
Great talking NASCAR with you all season. You did a great job. I really appreciate it, and I can't wait to do this again in 2021. Looking forward to it.
Yep.
Thank you.
97 days to the Daytona 500, whatever. I saw the countdown's already on with people. So I'm like, let's slow the roll on that. It just got
hopefully they'll be allowed in to the racetrack.
Hopefully.
So.
We'll find out in a month.
It's going to take a while.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Get that vaccine out.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Talk to you in 2021.
Thanks. Yep, sounds